I'm your host, Fatima, and today on Pirekua we'll be looking at the works of two composers, Clara Schumann and Giuseppe Tortini. Let's explore the uniqueness of these pieces together. Now that we have learned more about these two composers, let's embark on a journey of exploring their sonatas, starting with Tartini. Today, we'll focus on the first movement of each sonata. There are four movements in the Devil's Trail Sonata. Siciliano rhythm, which is a motovic feature that we get to see here in the first movement. We have a packed cadence, as well as a harmonic shift when going from B to G minor. Also, here we can see that the key is shifting towards dominant. The chromatic fourth motive ascends throughout the bass line. A progression of a German sixth is evident here, and it leads to the dominant chord of D major. One bar repeats tends to be very repeatable throughout this piece, like in measure 7 through measure 8. To give you guys a better idea, we'll play a piece. This section that was just mentioned. The andante part is set as binary form for the first movement. Siciliano rhythm is common to see in the 17th and 18th century and is used in arias as well as instrumental music. To an extent, there's a shift of change for the binary form during the 18th century. It is known as expanded binary form, which only has two parts called sections. Meanwhile, section 1 only contains one main period, and section 2 has first main period and second main period. However, this is still categorized as two sections. There's an interesting action going on with the cadences in the first movement. For example, in measure 21 through 23, we can see how the deceptive cadence carry harmonic intention, which delays the final cadence. She incorporates colorful aspects into her composition to determine her interest in the Lied. A Lied is a German art song that has poetry about love and nature. She incorporates vibrant aspects as a researcher. Yang Ying from Bridgewater University wrote, such as passing tone diminished seventh chords and common tone diminished seventh chords. It is evident in the section with the adagio that romantic composition techniques have been used because it is one of the characteristics during that time period. Chords in this section of the piece have plenty of chromaticism, which is essential for evoking basic melodies in a sonata, which makes it relate to a more lyrical music. It is set up in ternary form, which is seen at first in the second movement. As for the fourth movement, it is set up in rondo form. What about the exposition? Uniqueness in this piece is found in the length of the piece and format. It is in the exposition that there are interesting compositional elements. like the use of an homophonic theme. The polyphonic phrases go along with the lyrical elements, which also enhances these elements. However, the polyphonic phrase is seen in the beginning of the first theme. A great differentiation between the first and second theme is the usage of chromaticism in the second theme. During measure 3 to 12, the homophonic appears and is followed by the polyphonic phrase, which creates a lyrical component.
Let's play a section of the measures previously mentioned.
In measures 26 through 43, we hear the first theme, while in measures 44 through 70, we hear the second theme.
There is a transition toward the end of the exposition in measures 70 to 90. It is known as turnkey. In the beginning, there are two subjects. Subject 1 is ternary form, ABA, while subject 2, or second subject, is counterpunctual and legato.
Let's cut to the chase and take a look at the development. We will be looking at the development of Clara Schumann's first movement. Why this section? Well, since the development section is like the experimenting at the same time spontaneous, because you suddenly get to the new theme. It is here where the composer gets creative. In the development, the composer experiments with themes and explores different keys. It is set up as a variable organizations, which means that motives can be developed from the exposition, so there is quite a variation. At times, brand new themes can develop, also known as sequential activity. Also, modulation is quite typical to see in sonatas. Modulation is known as a change of keys in a piece.
This concludes this episode of Pirekua. Join us next time. We'll explore fascinating musical contributions that shaped the history of music and fascinating musicians who left an incredible mark. As you can see, sonatas changed dramatically from the 18th to the 19th century. Tartini sonata stayed as sonata, which is like extended binary form and has the Siciliano rhythm that categorizes the 19th century. While for Clara Schumann, in her sonata, it is kept as in the sonata allegro form and has so many ornamentation and virtuosic playing. And stay tuned for another great subject to dive in. Thank you, Pirekua listeners, for joining us today. Sponsored by MUS. Special thanks to Dr. Kate Rogers for all her guidance and support.